शमशेर भाई और भी एक हैं अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर
On March 1st, Iranian missiles and drones began slamming into targets across the entire Persian Gulf. Not just American bases, not just Israeli installations. Iran hit Kuwait International Airport, injuring civilians. They struck Qatar energy facilities in Ras Laffan, one of the most critical liquefied natural gas hubs on the planet. They hammered Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura refinery, which processes over 500,000 barrels of oil per day, forcing a partial shutdown and sending global oil prices into an absolute frenzy. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh took 2 drone strikes. 2 Iranian drones slammed into a French naval base in Abu Dhabi, right next to the Emirati Louvre, setting an aviation equipment warehouse on fire. And then, in the early hours of March 2nd, something happened that turned this from a Middle Eastern crisis into a European one. An Iranian Shahed kamikaze drone struck the runway of Britain's RAF Akrotiri base in Cyprus, a NATO country, in Europe. Let that sink in for a moment. Iran just hit European soil. Britain had done everything in its power to stay out of this war. Prime Minister Keir Starmer initially refused to let the United States use British military bases. He refused to participate. He invoked the lessons of Iraq, and Iran attacked the UK anyway. The response was immediate and dramatic. Starmer went before Parliament and announced that British jets were now in the air conducting defensive operations, intercepting Iranian missiles over Qatar and near British installations. He then made the decision that Iran forced upon him. He authorized the United States to use British military bases for strikes against Iranian missile launchers and storage depots. In his words, the only way to stop the threat is to destroy the missiles at their source. Defense Secretary John Healey confirmed that 300 British troops had been stationed just several hundred yards from the point of impact in Bahrain when an earlier Iranian strike landed. The UK terror threat level is now under active review. An estimated 300,000 British citizens remain trapped across Gulf countries where airspace has been shut down. But the chain reaction did not stop with Britain. Greece immediately announced the deployment of 2 frigates, the Kimon and Sara, equipped with advanced anti-drone systems, along with 4 F-16 fighter jets to defend Cyprus from further Iranian attacks. The Cypriot government, which has not been involved in any military operations whatsoever, found itself evacuating Paphos International Airport after radars detected incoming drones. The last time Cyprus was attacked by a foreign power was the Turkish invasion of 1974. Now an IRGC general is on Iranian state television threatening to launch missiles at the island with such intensity that the Americans will be forced to leave it entirely. France was next. After 2 Iranian Shahed drones struck the Camp de la Paix French naval base in Abu Dhabi, President Macron convened an emergency meeting of the National Defense and Security Council at the Élysée Palace and made a decision that shocked the military world. He ordered France's only nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, to immediately abort its NATO mission in the Baltic Sea and steam toward the eastern Mediterranean at maximum speed. This is the flagship of the French Navy, carrying Rafale M fighter jets capable of delivering nuclear-tipped cruise missiles, and it is now heading straight toward the conflict zone. Macron declared that France stands alongside its partners and that the absolute priority is preventing a total regional collapse. French Foreign Minister Barrot went even further, announcing France was ready to participate in the defense of Gulf states and Jordan. Meanwhile, 60 French-flagged vessels remain stranded in the Persian Gulf, unable to transit the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran's Revolutionary Guard has effectively shut down. Tanker traffic through the strait has dropped to virtually zero. Insurance companies have pulled coverage. 20% of the world's seaborne oil trade flows through that choke point, and right now, nothing is moving. Germany is not sitting still either. Chancellor Friedrich Merz, in a joint statement with Macron, condemned Iran's indiscriminate attacks and signaled that Europe would enable necessary and proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at their source. A German Bundeswehr field camp in eastern Jordan was struck by Iranian missiles, injuring at least one American soldier. Germany is now openly discussing the possibility of joining military operations, a posture that would have been absolutely unthinkable just 1 week ago. And then there is Saudi Arabia. The kingdom did everything short of building a physical wall between itself and this conflict. It closed its airspace to American jets. It refused to let the U.S. use Saudi bases. It lobbied Washington against the strikes. And Iran repaid this neutrality by launching missiles at Riyadh, at King Khalid International Airport, at Prince Sultan Air Base, and at the Ras Tanura refinery. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman called the attacks cowardly, noting that Saudi airspace was not being used against Iran, and that Iran knew it. He has authorized the Saudi military to respond if attacks continue, coordinated directly with President Trump, and received what the Saudis describe as full American support for whatever response they choose. The Saudi military has been raised to full alert. Analysts are now saying it is not a matter of if Saudi Arabia joins offensive operations against Iran, but when. Kuwait has intercepted 178 ballistic missiles and 384 drones. The UAE has shot down over 150 missiles and hundreds of drones. Bahrain, Jordan, Oman, Qatar, all of them have been hit. 6 American service members have been killed. Kuwait accidentally downed 3 U.S. fighter jets. Dozens of civilians, tourists, and workers across Gulf nations are dead or wounded. The Gulf Cooperation Council has held an emergency session and declared that member states reserve the right to respond in accordance with the UN Charter. The UAE has cut all diplomatic ties with the Iranian regime. Iran's foreign minister went on television and admitted something remarkable. He said that Iran's military units are now acting independently, isolated, operating on pre-programmed instructions given before the war started. The central command structure has been decapitated. Khamenei is dead. Over 40 senior officials were killed in the opening strikes. And now, with no one at the top to adapt the strategy, Iran's scattered forces are robotically executing a plan that is turning the entire world against them. Every missile that lands on a neutral country pulls another military power into this fight. Every drone that strikes a civilian airport generates another coalition partner for the United States. President Trump has confirmed this will be a 4 to 5 week operation. Netanyahu called it quick and decisive. But what nobody anticipated is that Iran's desperate, flailing retaliation would transform a targeted military campaign into what is rapidly becoming the broadest international military coalition since the War on Terror. Britain, France, Greece, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, and potentially Germany and Turkey are all being pulled, pushed, or dragged into this conflict. Carrier strike groups are repositioning. Fighter jets are being scrambled across 3 continents. Nuclear deterrence postures are being updated in real time. Macron just announced France is increasing its nuclear warhead count and, for the first time in history, will allow temporary deployment of nuclear-armed aircraft to allied nations. The Islamic Republic gambled that by terrorizing the world, it could force a ceasefire. Instead, it has achieved the exact opposite. It has united its enemies, alienated its neighbors, lost its leadership, sealed shut the Strait of Hormuz in an act of economic suicide, and is now staring down the combined military might of the most powerful nations on Earth. This is no longer just America's war. This is everybody's war. And Iran is on the wrong side of all of it.